Hi, welcome to
Hi.
the video today. Today I'm speaking with my good friend Shave, who is an amazing Amazon self-publisher that has created an incredible, awesome, profitable business over the past couple of years. And I'm so happy to have her here. Hi, Shave.
Hi, how are you?
Really well. So, just to kind of give you a little bit of background and context about Shave, we have known each other for a couple of years. She took my program, I think it was 2016, maybe it was 3 years ago now. I don't know. It all blends together, but
Yeah.
it was a few years ago. And since then, she's done really, really well. She's been profiting consistently around $40,000 per month for the past, what, over a year probably, right?
Yeah, almost a year since it went up to that point. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's doing really amazing. And her primary method that she uses for marketing is Facebook ads. And so last summer we connected and we started working together, doing some testing and just working on a lot of things with the Facebook ads. And then we decided to start running ads for authors. So we started a Facebook ad agency last fall. We've been working with a handful of authors, and we were just going through our business managers, and we just calculated that since October, together, we have done over $700,000 in ad spend. Ad spend alone, $700,000. So it's been an amazing journey. I've learned so much from Shave, and I'm really excited about doing this interview because there's so much value she can give when it comes to talking about publishing and talking about Facebook ads, and more importantly, being profitable. Like that has to be the number one priority. And I think that sometimes gets lost in people's strategies. So, Shave, why don't you start by telling us about your journey in self-publishing and what's brought you to this point so far?
Um, well, I started out, I think I got your course, I think it was in 2016. Um, I I had a brand, I still have it, but I was building a brand, like a clothing brand, just like Shopify store. And, it was a lot of work and I was, exhausting all my savings basically. So I was like, I need like a side income, an extra income that doesn't require, as much of my time. So that's how I came across publishing. I was previously a graphic designer and I had a good relationship with books. So it's like I like the business idea, the business model. So that's how I got into publishing basically.
Awesome. And so at what point did you see kind of like an aha or a turning point? Like where did it start happening where you started to become profitable? What did that look like?
Well, honestly, the business has had like ups and downs, especially with like Amazon changes and like all that. When
Hmm.
I first started, it was like, I think like free promo was a thing. And then we were doing like free promo, and I was starting to be profitable. We already making like a six-figure, I think, after like 5 or 6 months.
Hmm.
But then after that, it kind of like stopped working, and then the buying 99 cent launch thing kind of started out. Um, and that's when actually saw an increase of just like a big increase in like my revenue and my income. I did have a time where it was kind of like going down a little bit while I was kind of like figuring things out, because with that change, what happened is that it required a lot more work, and I wasn't the main reason why I started to be in the business. But
Hmm.
since I
Right.
already had a six-figure income, I didn't want to let it go. So I was like, well, I either scalate this now or I try to keep it as it is, but I didn't want to let it die. So
Hmm.
um, so when the 99 cent launch thing started happening, meaning advertising on like swaps or whatever people were doing at the time, that's when I saw like oh, this can actually be escalated to much more than just 10K a month, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That's pretty. It's not like a straight line, but that's
Hmm.
basically when I was like, okay, so this can actually grow. Like the changes that have been happening have been for the better, I guess.
Right. And
Yeah.
so when you started getting into Facebook ads, what did that look like at the beginning? Like, were you immediately profitable with it, or was that kind of like, were there a lot of stumbles along the way?
A lot of stumbles along the way, because my primary reason, like my main motivator for uh, being in the self-publishing industry was that it didn't require as much of my time. Publishing on Amazon also means that you're outsourcing pretty much a lot of it to Amazon. So spending like a lot of time in it didn't make sense for me. So with the swaps and all these things going on,
Yes.
just the business model wasn't making sense for me anymore.
Totally.
But
And I'll just explain when she says swaps, that means doing
oh,
newsletter swaps. So no worries. So when you do newsletter swaps, you like collaborate with other authors and you promote each other's books to each other's mailing lists.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go
So
on.
that was a lot of work. Even outsourcing to my virtual assistant, I had already a virtual assistant at the time. It was a lot of work, and it was not predictable. Like
Mm-hmm.
just I just felt like I was relying on somebody else's action, somebody else to take action to send my book to their list to actually see success on my end. So it was like I'm relying on somebody else to run my business, and I didn't like
Yes.
the idea at all.
Yeah, for sure.
So I had some like Shopify e-commerce, Facebook knowledge, Facebook ads knowledge. So I kind of like started testing out with Amazon with the books,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it was quite a journey. Spent a lot of money,
Yep.
a lot of money that
And
I
testing and
in
trying different
testing,
things and experimenting.
lots of
Yes.
testing, lots of experimenting, and
Mm-hmm.
it was quite a lot. It went on for a few months, and all
Mm-hmm.
while I was like, I don't want to lose my extra six-figure income.
Yeah.
I don't want to,
Yeah.
and I had all this pressure on top of me. It was really hard.
Yes.
But for me, it was like with this swaps going on, it's so much work and it's so unpredictable that I'd
Yeah.
rather let it go, or I figure a way to keep my income or increase it. That
Yeah.
was it. That was it. And I set myself a deadline for like I think it was like 4 months, 5 months, and I figured it out.
Yeah.
I figured it out, and I was so happy, so happy because I was like, I can launch my books next week if I want to.
Yeah.
I don't have to plan months in advance. I don't have to be like thinking, oh, what if somebody forgets to send their book to my list, to their list, or like,
Yeah.
it
Mm-hmm.
was just so relieving to be able to
Sure.
finally, kind of like take, you know, uh, control of pretty much everything
Mm-hmm.
at that point. So.
And I think that's a good point too, is having that kind of more predictable control that you now, because of the experience that you had at that point, you had an idea too, as like if I put in this much ad spend and my book is this kind of quality and I've, got these amazing reviews, that it is going to perform in this way. And you've done so many, I mean, even us together now, we've done so many launches now that we can look at something and see a book's performance and know exactly the path that is on, and we know how to like adjust
Mhm.
the ad spend and adjust strategy based on a book's performance, and that only comes with experience. That only comes from you testing and experimenting. And what I loved about like, especially when we first started, what kind of like really struck me when we first started working together last summer, is that you took your knowledge of Facebook ads from all these places outside of the book space. Because I'd taken Mark Dawson's course, like Facebook ads course. I'd read like Michael Cooper's book, and I'd been testing Facebook ads and running Facebook ads for a while, but I didn't have that knowledge you had outside of the book space. So it's like you were a pioneer and you were innovative and you were bringing something that was crushing in other spaces and applying it to books, and really paid off. And so yeah, it's so important to do that testing and put in that time. Yeah, that's awesome. So back to our questions. I know I rewrote up questions, but I just love having this conversation. Okay, so lots of people do Facebook ads.
Mhm.
Why do they work so well for you? because they don't work so well for a lot of other people. I just got a message from someone the other day, so frustrated because they're like, yeah, I'm doing Facebook ads and, I've put in, I think she said it was like $700 or $800 and like just not seeing a return. And so why do they work so well for you?
Well, first of all, it obviously wasn't working for me as well as it works now, right from the beginning. I have the experience of past like almost couple years. Plus, before I came into the self-publishing industry, I had been already spending hours studying Facebook ads and running Facebook ads for my e-commerce store. So I've kind of like had practice with that. I think it all comes down to practicing and knowing how to talk to your audience and not being afraid of being too conservative, because you gotta place yourself in, put yourself in your to your customer's shoes and be like, well, if I'm scrolling down on Facebook and I have somebody come to me and say, hey, I have this awesome product and you should buy now because it's like 70% off. It's like, so
Yeah,
so
right.
like people are scrolling down on Facebook. You're basically people want entertainment, so you have
Yes.
to know how to talk to your audience, and you only even if I try to explain it to you, you kind of can understand it, but until you go in and write ad copies, like a ton of ad copies, and run the ads yourself, you're not gonna really get it, because
Mm-hmm.
it's practice a lot with also with kind of knowing what you're doing, and you can get advice and stuff, but you have to practice. You have to go in there, write the ads, see how people respond, see what people are commenting on your ads, reply to your comments, like kind of like see what resonates with your audience. That
Yes.
takes time, practice, and being very consistent. So yeah.
Yes, consistency is so key with that. I totally agree. And I love what you're saying too, and it's so important about meeting your viewer, the person who's viewing the ads, meet them where they're at. They're just hanging out on their phones, scrolling through. They don't want to be sold to. Like you said, they want to be entertained and they want to be engaged. You want it to look, you want the ad to like seem like it fits in with their newsfeed, like it's something that a friend is posting or something like that, like have a conversational tone, right? Yes, that's important. And so another reason why, I asked you, why do they work so well for you? They also work so well for you because you prioritize profit.
Oh,
Right. So
on
tell us about that. Tell us about that.
on the business side, so yeah, so right. One thing is the actual performance of the ad on Facebook. And then another thing is how it, how it helps you in your business. Because you can have really good ads, but if you're not converting, or if you're not making money, or if you're spending all your budget or your money, then what's the point of having a good ad, right? Um, so yeah, you can get good performing ads after a lot of practice. You can get good performing ads, but are you gonna? That doesn't mean that you're gonna be making money.
Right,
So
right,
your metrics can be wonderful, but if not working on your business side of things, then what's the point of having a good
right.
performing ad, right? And when I say good performing is from the like metrics kind of, because for Amazon it's like you can, it's not like e-commerce where you can say an ad is performing if you're making sales. With Amazon it's like you cannot say that. You have to be like, okay, the ad is performing well, and then you have to separate that from your business. It's not like e-commerce. You have to be very careful because you don't have the data of if the conversion data people actually
Right.
buy from.
Right. So you can just, it's basically an intelligent correlation. You can look at
Right.
the performance of your ads and then look at your paid units, like your sales numbers, and look at your page reads if your books are in Kindle Unlimited, and just assess from there whether or not the it's converting.
It
And
is
there, yeah,
it is very hard. I'm not
it's
gonna
hard.
lie.
Yeah. Hmm.
It is hard. So yeah. So
Hmm.
now, once you get the your ad performing well, that you know is resonating with your audience, then it comes to a part where, okay, well, what's going on
Yes.
on my Amazon side of things, right?
Yeah.
What's the money, what's going on in my book? Are people reading my book? Are people buying my book? Are people borrowing my book? What's the ranking like? Is it stable? Is it dropping in ranking? Is it improving? Like all these different metrics that you have to take into account that ultimately are going to actually like exactly what to do then on Facebook side of things if you have
Yeah.
to, well, I have to turn off the ad, or I have to lower my budget, or I have to increase my budget, right?
Right. And
Um,
you're making all those decisions based on the real-time performance of the books. So
exactly.
there's another thing is that people approach ads with like an expectation that's like,
Mhm.
I expect this book to do this and reach this ranking, and I'm going to do what it takes to get there. And that is a recipe for people losing money because they
That
try and push and
I was
force.
there. Like
Yeah.
I was there, and I lost so much money, and I was there, and that's one of the things that I learned as well is like you have to, you have the Facebook world and you have your own like Amazon world, and you have to make them get along with each other. If you
Mm-hmm.
cannot make that happen, you're gonna lose money. You're not gonna be successful, and that's one of the things that happen. But once you get it, it is a lot easier, and you can repeat that.
Totally.
But
Yes.
there, it's not simple. It's not.
Right, right. It's
Cool.
something that is not simple and it's not immediately intuitive, but you can learn it and
Oh,
then you can get experience with it
mhm.
and then you can keep repeating what works.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
for sure.
super important. Okay, so when it comes to, or okay, let's talk about creative. So images, ad copy, that kind of thing. What's working best right now when it comes to creative, just in general?
Stop the scroll. Just stop.
Stop the scroll. Be
Please,
disruptive. Be disruptive.
be
Yeah.
disruptive. Be disruptive. It doesn't matter what it takes. Do it. I mean, as long as you're, I mean, as long as you don't get your ads rejected all the time,
Yeah, for sure.
that can happen, obviously. But other than that, if you don't get, you're compliant with Facebook terms of service and stuff, then do whatever it takes to stop the scroll. That's
Hmm.
it.
And so when it comes to images, sometimes you'll see, like, I know some courses teach you that for images, like you should have a little picture of your book and have like, buy now and stuff like that on the ad image. But I mean, what we do, we're just using images and no text, and I think that is best for deliverability.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's you're selling a story. You're not
Yes.
selling a book, if you know
Right.
what I mean. It's like people are
Sure.
not buying your book, the actual physical thing, like the whatever it is, they're buying the story.
They're buying an emotion, an experience they're going to have.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you want to like
So you want to focus on.
really appeal to that and really evoke that emotion through the
Yeah.
image and through the ad copy. And yeah, so same with like we were talking about earlier for ad copy. You don't have to be like, buy now, sale ends tomorrow. Like,
Uh,
yeah, cut out all the salesy stuff and just show the reader, like show the story and bring them into the emotions, right?
yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, this is kind of, I don't know what you're going to say about this question. What is the best audience size, or is there a best audience size for Facebook ads?
Definitely, you are better off with at least 2 million, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, but more, like even more important than the actual size, is how well your audience is converting. Obviously, you have to assess that with, you need time to assess that, obviously. Kind of like see what's going on the Amazon side, what's going on, how many clicks or whatever you're getting on your Facebook side of things, and kind of like get a sense of your conversion rate. However, you know, not straight. It's not straight like, oh, this is the conversion I have. If you have a book that people don't want, maybe your audience has the capability of actually buying a book, and your target is not that weight. It's not off. It's just that people don't want the book when they get to the product page. It's just not buying. So it's
Mhm.
very easy
Right.
when it happens to say, oh, this audience doesn't work, or this audience size doesn't work. Um, definitely don't go too small so you have more room, but
Definitely.
also assess how well it is converting, and
Mhm.
not as much how big is my audience is. It's not really
Yeah.
you know.
Right. So there's not a black and white answer. And I think you mentioned something really good is that on the front end, like you said, you have to look at the Facebook side and look on the Amazon side. On the Facebook side, everything looks good. You're like, people are clicking and viewing, and my CPC, like cost per click is good, my click-through rate is good, but the conversions aren't there. It's like,
Mhm.
then you have to look at that product page and see
Yeah,
what is turning people off. Why aren't people buying? And I'd say probably 9 out of 10 times it's something on that product page,
definitely.
so
Mhm.
yeah, really important. Okay, so how can you tell if you have a winning ad? And when you have a winning ad, how do you scale that?
So we're talking like Facebook side of things, right?
Facebook, yeah.
I can tell they have a winning ad when my cost per click is super low
Yeah.
and it has a lot of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
People go crazy commenting and just stating their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Some are negative, some are positive, but as long as they're engaged, I know I have a good
Yes,
ad.
for
Yeah.
sure. And the more engagement you get on an ad, too, the more you're appealing to that audience. Whether like you said, negatively or positively, Facebook is going to show that ad more.
Mm-hmm.
You'll
Yeah.
get way better, way more impressions.
Yeah.
And so that's really important. And I mean, that used to be reflected in relevance score up until this past week. Now, I don't have relevance scores on any of my accounts. I don't know if you have any on yours still, Shave. Some days, I know. Yeah, so there's some new metrics when it comes to that reflect the relevancy now, and
Mhm.
we're getting it. We're starting to get it down.
Yeah.
Starting to see what correlates to the what good ads. So just kind of a work in progress. And I have some friends that run high level Facebook ad agencies, so we've been talking about and strategizing a little bit about how to kind of move forward in this new age of no relevance scores. But it's good. It's kind of fun to be figuring all this out. So when you have a winning ad, how do you scale that? That seems to be a question people have a lot. They're like, hey, my click-through rate is awesome, my CPC is low, how do I scale? I don't know if would you say that there is a black and white one answer for that?
How do you tell? Um, so we have to make a pause here because I don't know if we should be saying the accelerated mode thing because we really know how to answer that because we don't scale anything.
No, for sure.
We don't
Um,
scale anything.
I think if
Scale what's not working, but we leave what's working just be run its course.
yeah, for sure. I think an answer could be that there is no. You can just say there is no there isn't like specifically one black or white answer, and that I mean you could. Yeah, I think you're right. I think I'll just X out this last question I just asked you
Yeah,
about the
yeah. I don't
scaling.
know
Okay.
why people have to feel like they have to scale something. We're not in e-commerce.
Yeah, but
E-commerce,
that's such a common question though. People are like, because people that are doing ads with standard delivery, they're like, oh, my ad is like, I have an ad and click through rate's 20% and my CPC is 18 cents, but I'm only spending $10 a day. How do I
I don't
scale
know
that?
if people that route. I honestly just go ham. Go like 15, 10 ad copies, whatever doesn't work, you kill it, and the other just like run. But of course, I know that I'm always gonna have something that's gonna perform well because I do have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
experience.
We'll leave
So
this out. We'll leave that out.
yeah,
That'll be something more. That'll be like we'll go in that deep when we actually work with people in our program.
yeah.
Um, okay, so I'm going to ask you the next question here. Okay, so what are the three biggest mistakes you see authors making with Facebook ads?
Um, the ad copy, and it's I've seen some like seriously boring. Not no offense. I used to probably do that a lot before, but when I mean boring ad copies, I mean just not ad copies are don't invite the user to engage with the ad copy with the ad itself. I see that quite a lot. And it's like um, that includes a lot of irrelevant information. Like some people say, I personally don't think people care if you're a best-selling author, and this may be really harsh to hear for some people. You can totally have that in your product page, for instance. That's pretty good. I mean, everybody likes to. You have to. You earn your bestseller tag. Obviously, you want people to know, and that is good to have it in the product page. When you're on Facebook, people just want the entertainment. People want that like feeling that, oh my, can be a bestseller, but girl, I want to be entertained. It's like,
yeah, totally.
So honestly, I see that a lot. It's like, oh, this and that, and like, I think I see a lot of irrelevant information that makes the ad a little bit boring, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I see that quite a lot. I think the other mistake people make is that they try to push their books a lot beyond a sort of profitability, a point of profitability.
They're overspending and
overspending.
Yes.
And they're like, a lot of people are like, I want my book to be top 50, and I'm just gonna spend all this money. And it's like, well, your book wants to be top 50. You have to ask your book if it wants to be there.
Yes, 100%. And I was talking about this on a live video I did in my Facebook group a couple of days ago, that there's a profit pocket, and you have to listen to the book and let it tell you where it wants to be and where it wants to make the most money. And a person that's spending and spending and spending so their book can stay in the top 100 a long time, they can profit the exact same amount as someone who is not in the top 100 and is spending less, and they can profit the same. The only difference is massive ad spend to stay in the top 100 a long time, staying outside the top 100 but still at a great rank. Their ad spend is less, they're profiting more, so they're exposing themselves to less risk.
I get it. People, I put a lot of effort. Like every time I make a book, like the story, like you come up with the story, all the details. Mm-hmm. When you write it yourself, you're just into it, right? You create something, you're creating your cover, like everything. It's like your baby. Like each book is your own baby, and everybody wants their book to be really, really successful. But unfortunately, we're selling to an audience, and they decide. We don't. We can do the best we can. We will do the best we can, but they decide. Ultimately, it's their decision.
100%. High five on that, because I think people get so wrapped up in ego and attachment to their book and attachment to a rank. Like, oh, it's hard to watch sometimes because people are digging themselves into spending too much. But everyone's been there, right? And just to clarify, I don't think we talked about this yet, but how many books do you have right now that you do you have published that are contributing to, because you're profiting $40K a month and your ad spend is what, $20K a month?
It depends on the month, 20, 25.
Yeah.
It varies because, I like to kind of like kill the ads when it has been, time or whatever.
Sure. So you're doing between like 60 and 70,000 gross.
Yeah.
And spending 20 mm-hmm. Those are killer margins. Your profit margins are so good. But anyhow, back to the question: how many books do you have right now?
And this is another thing that I feel like people just don't realize, is that just like any business, this takes time. Mm-hmm. And just making money requires you to have a big catalog, like a big back catalog, because and be publishing consistently. Consistently,
yes, that is so important. And when we say consistently, like when people ask me about consistency, I tell them, it's like, you should be publishing at least once a month.
Right. Yeah. Once a month is a really good number. Yeah. You take your time to build your book, and especially when you have more experience, more like what to do in the ad side of things and stuff like that, so you can have more confidence. Mm-hmm. If you're not sure what to do, then you should publish more, because you have to, take into account that some books may not make you as much money as you were expecting. Yes. But that being said, yes, I do have a big catalog. I've been publishing every month since the last 2 years. Yeah. I think I have unpublished a few books, but I think I probably have like 30, 40 books, maybe 30, around 30, I think.
But still, $30 to be profiting $40K a month is awesome. It's not like you have 400 books or something,
I I don't.
No.
Yeah, people go back. Amazon does a pretty good job at this. Every time
Yeah.
somebody finishes a book, they say right away, they show the reader, hey, this other author has these other books.
Yeah, I know, that's amazing. That's really great.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job of that.
And also you emphasize and you put a lot of attention into making sure your books are high quality and that you have great covers and great blurbs. I mean, that would be a whole nother video to talk about.
Oh, yeah,
but I mean, that's so important. We'll get into that another time. But
yeah.
Okay, so all right. So think back to 18 months ago when you were really just getting into Facebook ads in a big way and you were starting out. What advice would you give your past self?
Don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. I thought about giving up so many times.
Yes.
Like, you know, I will wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning with a panic attack thinking everything I've built so far has been for nothing. Like, honestly, I feel people don't talk about this often, but it has to be, somebody has to say it. Like, it is hard. Being an entrepreneur, having your own business, going on your own publishing journey, being a self-published author, it is hard. It is hard. But you can't give up. You just can't give up. If you don't give up, like, whatever it is that you want to achieve, you will achieve, but you can't give up. And we all think that. Everybody,
Yes.
The most successful person in the world has thought about giving up. Don't give up.
That is the most valuable piece of advice I think you can give anybody right now. And reminds me of my bracelet that I wear every day. And I put it on this morning, and again, I looked at it. I don't know if you can see it. But it says, nevertheless, she persisted. And I look at it all the time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like
and,
that.
Thank you so much, Xavi, for this interview. This is super valuable. I'm so excited for everyone to watch this and get inspired and take action on what we are. So anyhow, thanks again, Xavi. This was really great connecting with you as always. And we'll talk to you later.
Talk later.